for attack, front to back, in this thing called rap. Thinking like a shovel, rhyme double on a heavenly level. Bang the bass, turn up the treble. Radical mind day and night all the time. 714, live, divine, maniac, radiac, winning the game. I'm the lyrical Jesse James.
Poltex is gonna be beaten. There's just no way. I mean, it is such a mess, an attack on. It's an attack on the working class as a whole, and because it's united so many people together, it can't possibly win because most of us can't afford to pay, and people are just so angry about it. It's, you know, it's like it's last straw for people.
We're going to beat the poll tax and we're going to destroy this piece of legislation. One of the brilliant things I think around areas that I've spoken to people about is it's bringing communities back together. And I know of at least 2 or 3 areas in London where people who are fighting the poll tax want to beat the poll tax first and foremost. But there's also that thought in their mind of bringing back together communities, making communities strong.
The movement against the poll tax is totally brilliant. You know, it's the first time for years and years that, you know, like the working class has really taken to arms basically, and the state has made such a fucking mistake in attacking everyone at the same time, because for 10 years they attacked different sections, picked them off, people felt, oh, it wasn't me, it was alright, and for the first time they've taken on everyone at the same time, and people are not fucking taking it. The town halls are really amazing. That was the first time you realised there was something really fucking going, I think. That was the amazing thing about Hackney, because I walked out of the council chambers about 8:30. There was a fucking full-blown riot going on. And like these cops were fucking shitting it and running here, there and everywhere. And it was fucking amazing. Walking out from where you'd had all these people like quietly debating the final points of the poll tax. And you walk out and suddenly there's a war.
What was incredible was just places just everywhere, you know, really small places. There were a lot of people, just ordinary local people going along and making their protest.
In Nottingham now, people dressed as Robin Hood sort of attacking the council chambers. People just going into council chambers and taking it over. But the size of some of them was just like brilliant. You know, obviously Hackney was the last one, it all sort of accumulated then. But everywhere else around London as well, and like friends of mine down in Southampton had something like, I don't know, 1,000 people or something outside the council chamber there, and they were giving it like loads of cheer. People were getting in and stopping the meeting.
the build-up over the week, it was just really, I suppose if you sort of hand it to somebody sort of like who'd never heard of the poll tax and give them the events, the build-up of that week must have looked really funny. It just sort of like gradually grew.
To build Trafalgar Square, so many groups around the country just decided that was going to be the main show of force, all of us together. All the work goes on in the communities, and a big demonstration can't stop the poll tax. The work and the only work that can stop the poll tax is all of us working in our streets, our estates, our areas, to beat it and bring our neighbours together and fight the bloody thing. But as one show of force to show how many people hated it, loads of people turned up. And it was just a brilliant demo.
Quality, I possess, some say I'm fresh, when my voice goes through the mesh of the microphone that I am holding. Copywritten lyrics so they can't be stolen if they all snap. Don't need the police to try to say them, your voice will sing. So please, stay off my back, or I will attack, and you don't want that.
Such a variety of people there, you know, young and old, all sorts of different areas from all over the country. Children. It felt completely different than normal demos. There were just the amount of people, the atmosphere, the strength, the feeling was much higher. Also the fact that you felt like there were so many more of you than the police, like you just felt that they didn't have a chance, you know, it was your day, you could do what you wanted. Push the police out of the way really, you know, it was our day, it was our street.
I've got the power!
We came out of Kennington Tube on the day of the national demonstration, and there was half a dozen SWP paper sellers, and at first we just sort of thought, oh, fuck, we've taken it over. And then you got into the park, and there was a lot of people around, and then you started seeing people march out, and you just couldn't get out of the park. It just went on and on and on, you know. And people were in Trafalgar Square before the last people had left Kennington.
Started because right from the beginning of the march, people were there because they were angry about the poll tax, you know, so the mood was really high. People felt strong, they felt it was a day when they could express what they really felt.
Cops can't accept a large number of people basically being on the streets without police being in control, and that is one of the main reasons they attacked the demonstration at Downing Street.
People sat down, I think, because we couldn't go forward, we couldn't go back, because the march had stopped at Trafalgar Square, because there were so many thousands and thousands and thousands of people, and the route just couldn't cope with it.
Don't need the police to try to say them, your voice will sing. So please, stay off my back, or I will attack, and you don't want that.
Like, I found that if I saw somebody getting hurt that was one of us, you know, I wanted to do something. I wasn't going to just stand there, you know, and I know everybody felt the same way. If you saw someone getting attacked by the police, you weren't going to just sit back and let them get arrested and get hurt and beaten up. You got in there and tried to fight back, and, you know, together. Everybody was really together. That was the best thing about it. Felt like, you know, we were all helping each other and all fighting back.
Attack, front to back, in this thing called rap. Thinking like a shovel round double on a heavily level. Bang the bass, turn up the treble. Radical mind day and night all the time. 714, wise the mind. Maniac, radiac, winning the game. I'm the lyrical Jesse James. Quality, I possess, some say I'm fresh. When my voice goes through the mesh of the microphone that I am holding. Copywritten lyrics only can't be stolen if they all snap. Don't need the police to try to save them, your voice will sing. So please, stay off my back, or I will attack, and you don't want that. I've got the power! Quality, I possess, some say I'm fresh. When my voice goes through the mesh of the microphone that I am holding. Copywritten lyrics only can't be stolen if they all snap. Don't need the police to try to save them, your voice will sing. So please, stay off my back, or I will attack, and you don't want that. I've got the power!
What people wanted to do when they moved into the West End was like, it was that they wanted to smash wealth. I mean, they wanted to symbols of wealth, if you like, or show their anger. So the things that they were targeting were symbols of wealth, like the posher shops, big stores, and rich cars, and all those sort of things. And it was the same thing of expressing your anger about those people won't have to pay the same poll tax as us. It doesn't affect them. They've got their cushy little lives.
Well, where I was, there was just trashing for trashing's sake, because people fucking hate the West End. Well, most people do. Fucking hate this area where you're constantly having wealth flaunted in your face, but you can't actually afford all these trinkets. And the joy of destroying them, is like immense, like just seeing this whole area just trashed.
I've got the power!
For once I hadn't felt alienated and small. Normally when I go into central London it just feels like this kind of money, and all these people just, it's not my place, it's not a place where I feel at home. And whereas on the night of the Trafalgar Square thing, it was just, you just felt like you'd taken over. For once it was your streets.
Oh,
whole of the country knew that there was a mass movement against the poll tax, and knew that fucking hundreds of thousands of people were on the streets and fighting, and all the isolated and worried and frightened people, they'd fucking open their like Sun or Daily Mirror or whatever and thought, fucking hell, like it's not just me that hates the poll tax, it's fucking loads of people. Brilliant, I'm not paying it. You know, I think that's where militant, well, one of the areas where militant is so wrong, you know, like the riot was a fucking enormous boost to the anti-poll tax movement.
Violence today was the work of anarchists who attacked the police. The demonstration's organisers have been quick to condemn the activities.
Of course we don't condone that. We condemn it totally, like most working class people would do. People sitting watching those scenes would be very, very angry that this small minority of people have marred what has been a marvellous demonstration.
So what went wrong?
What went wrong, basically, was we had 250 of these individuals who were intent on causing trouble.
The Home Secretary told MPs that the investigation would look at the role of the anarchist group Class War played in the riot. This previously little-known organisation claims some 300 members around the country and publishes a newspaper. They're dedicated to the downfall of parliamentary democracy and attacking the police, as well as encouraging the non-payment of the poll tax. Earlier today, I talked to their spokesman, Andy Murphy. Many of you may find his views repugnant, but they do give an insight into why Saturday's march turned to violence. I put to him first the allegation that Class War is blamed for spearheading the violence.
We would have no wish to organise such a thing. It's part and parcel of our political ideology that the working class do not need leaders, either to make decisions for them or to lead them into battle.
So you're saying in no way was Saturday's violence pre-planned?
Not in any way, particularly not by Class War. We do not have the capability to organise such disturbance. You only have to look at how the police mismanaged the situation totally, with all the resources available to them, aerial surveillance, video cameras, radio control. They made a complete hash of it. How they would could possibly expect us to organise something with 150 to 200 members present with no form of communication, I just don't know.
You wouldn't deny, though, that your newspaper and your organisation was responsible for inciting some of the violence. I mean, one doesn't have to look terribly far through this to see lines like, scraps with cops outside town halls may not stop the poll tax, but they're good confidence builders, and who needs an excuse for a fight with the bill?
I think that's fair enough. There is a general loathing of the police amongst a large section of the working class. They're seen for what they are. They're not protectors of the working class. They are there to ensure the power of the ruling class.
What is your view of those who did carry out acts of violence against the police and members of the public?
I would dispute that people were carrying out violence against members of the public, and any
well,
we would
members of the public were injured.
Members of the public were injured by the police brutality. Any members of the public who were injured by the combative members of the crowd, we would condemn that as being a way, you know, totally out of order.
What was your objective on Saturday?
Our objective initially was to sell as many copies of our paper as possible to get our message across, and should a disturbance occur, which seemed likely from the beginning given the route of the march, then we would basically put our money where our mouth was and support whatever action the majority of the crowd seemed to be going along with.
What is your view of those who were carrying out the violence on Saturday? Do you regard them as heroes?
Given the level of weaponry available to the police, riot shields, truncheons, vans, horses, the people that fought back with sticks, bits of cardboard and whatever bottles were available, as far as we're concerned, were working class heroes.
I wouldn't mind betting that a vast majority of the viewers watching this will see you and other members of Class War as mindless hoodlums who belong behind bars. What would you say to them?
I am not a hooligan, I'm not a violent person. I do not like violence.
Oh, come on, but you're inciting violence in your own publication.
I'm sorry. If you read the publication, we are reporting on violence which has occurred. Under no circumstances do we actually tell people to go out and do it.
Andy Murphy of Class War.
Well, I think it's been a most disgraceful affair. I'm absolutely horrified. And I think it's shocking that the police should have to put up with this sort of hooligan behaviour.
Do you think that violence was inevitable on a march of this size?
Of course not. We live in a democracy, and if people want to change the law, then they vote for a change in the law. Nothing can condone this sort of behaviour. Nothing whatsoever.
I condemn the violence, absolutely. It's literally intolerable in a democratic society. I hope there have been substantial numbers of arrests. I hope the people who have been responsible for the violence will be convicted, and I hope they'll be awarded very severe sentences, exemplary sentences.
Any violent demonstrations are the negation of democracy. People can demonstrate peacefully. That is their right. But violence is really anti-democratic.
The Labour leader said millions of people unable to pay the poll tax needed help.
They do not deserve to be exploited by Toy Town revolutionaries who pretend that the tax can be stopped by insurrection. It is rubbish and they know it.
This was just like a revolution. You know, so people were taking the law into their own hands.
I think the message I'd want to say to people about the poll tax is that in our communities we've got to defend each other and not let any bloody bailiff come into our homes, or not let people go to court on their own, not leave pensioners and single parents, you know, alone against the poll tax. People in the workplaces and in the community have got to stick together and fight for each other, and we can win. You know, we've got all the strength.
We'll not pay the poll tax. We'll not pay the poll tax.